I was in the middle of cleaning out the chicken coop behind my quiet little farmhouse when a woman in sunglasses and a clipboard strutted onto my property like she owned the place. "You can't build that here," she barked without even saying hello. "It violates Section 6 of our HOA bylaws." I blinked. "I'm sorry, our HOA?" Then she said something that made my blood run cold. "Well, you're within visual range of our subdivision. That means your coop is subject to our aesthetics guidelines." What? That's when I realized this wasn't just a nosy neighbor. This was the star of a war. And she had no idea who she was dealing with. Petri ka raz ubi kolna baki hai, or is kahani ka twist har 32nd, main AAPKO pakre rakega. It all began after I moved into the countryside to escape the madness of city life. My house sat on a 3-acre property with a red barn, some fruit trees, and the dream I'd always wanted, my own little chicken coop. I'd spent months designing it. Solar-powered doors, rainwater collection system, and insulated nesting boxes. It wasn't just functional, it was a work of art. But that dream shattered the day Janet, the woman with the clipboard, showed up. She claimed to be the president of the Willow Creek HOA, a gated community that had popped up 2 years ago a quarter-mile down the hill from my land. Their fancy subdivision ended at the creek. My house sat well above it. No shared roads, no shared utilities. And most importantly, I never signed anything. I didn't live in Willow Creek. I wasn't part of their HOA. But that didn't stop Janet from handing me a notice of violation. "We're requiring you to submit architectural plans for the coop and apply for a livestock exception," she said, lips tight. "And if you refuse, we'll report you to the county and seek injunctive relief." That night, I couldn't sleep. Not because I was scared, but because I was furious. The next morning, I went to the county courthouse. I needed to know, was there any chance they had legal jurisdiction? The clerk pulled up my parcel. It was zoned rural agricultural, fully exempt from residential HOAs. In fact, the Willow Creek HOA documents even showed a disclaimer: does not include adjacent agricultural properties. I smiled, but I wasn't just going to tell Janet she was wrong. I was going to prove it, loudly. A few days later, I hosted a chicken coop unveiling party. I invited every neighbor within a 1-mile radius, except Willow Creek residents. Music, barbecue, lemonade stands, and of course a ribbon-cutting ceremony for my coop, complete with a handmade sign. This coop is 100% HOA-free, no permits, no petty power trips, just chickens. Janet and her HOA friends showed up anyway. They stood on the edge of my gravel driveway, arms folded, glaring. Then Janet pulled out her phone and started filming. "Go ahead," I said, walking over. "You want the county number? I have on speed dial." That's when she changed tactics. She filed a formal nuisance complaint with the county, claiming the smell of my chickens was drifting into their subdivision. Funny, since the wind never even blows that direction. But the county officer still came to inspect. He was a local guy, friendly, respectful. He took one whiff and laughed. "Smells cleaner than a lot of backyard grills I've seen," he said. He even complimented the solar setup. Case closed. But Janet wasn't done yet. She started emailing my other neighbors, telling them I was going to ruin their property values, attract rats, destroy the peace. She even sent flyers in the mail with edited photos of diseased chickens and rotting eggs. It was dirty, so I got dirtier. "You think this is over?" Janet sneered across my fence line. "You don't know who you're messing with." I didn't flinch because by now I did know. Janet wasn't just an overreaching HOA president. She was a retired real estate agent with a notorious reputation for bullying small property owners. One neighbor told me she once forced a couple to repaint their fence 3 times over a barely noticeable color violation. What she didn't expect, that I would hit her where it hurt: her ego, her image, and her obsession with control. I made a few calls, first to the local Backyard Poultry Association, then to a statewide homesteaders group, and finally to a county land rights network. Within a week, I had over 30 people on board. We organized a massive community event on my property. We called it the Homestead Freedom Fair, and we plastered signs everywhere that read, "This event is hosted on private property, not under HOA jurisdiction." The event turned out bigger than I imagined. Families brought chickens, goats, gardening kits, and home-baked goods. There were many workshops on composting, backyard poultry laws, and sustainable living. Local vendors showed up to sell soap and honey. Even a food truck arrived. And then it happened. The local news van pulled up. Apparently, someone tipped them off that there was a rural rights movement rising in the shadow of HOA tyranny. And yes, they interviewed me on camera, right in front of my chicken coop. The story ran that same night. One man's backyard chickens spark a county-wide stand against HOA overreach. And right in the background of that segment, you could clearly see a furious Janet standing on the sidewalk, arms crossed, lips twitching in rage. I couldn't have scripted it better if I tried. The next morning, I woke up to nearly 70 new social media followers, a few egg donations, and a handwritten letter dropped in my mailbox from someone I never met. "Thank you for standing up to people who think they can control everything. You've inspired us." But there was something even more satisfying coming. Remember when Janet stepped onto my property last week to hand me her citation? Well, I had installed a full motion security camera days before. It recorded the entire interaction, her trespassing, raising her voice, and trying to film me without consent. I forwarded the footage to my new ally, a retired zoning attorney named Mr. Pollard. He drafted a cease and desist letter so powerful that it practically smoked when printed. It cited not only trespassing and harassment, but also impersonation of a government authority. And we didn't just send it to Janet. We sent it to the entire HOA board, the county commission, the local sheriff's office, and the state real estate board that still listed Janet's expired license within 72 hours. The HOA board called an emergency meeting. I didn't even have to attend. Apparently, several homeowners had no idea Janet was targeting people outside HOA jurisdiction. Nor did they know she had been spending HOA funds to print those fake warning letters. One board member resigned. Janet was forced to step down that weekend. But the final twist came a few days later. A new woman came to my door. She introduced herself as Monica, the newly elected HOA president. Unlike Janet, she was calm and respectful. She handed me a small gift basket. "I just wanted to apologize," she said. "What Janet did was out of line, and you were never under our HOA's authority. We hope to start fresh, with respect and transparency." I accepted the apology. But just to make sure the message stuck with anyone else thinking of pushing their luck, I had a wooden sign carved and mounted right next to my coop's gate. "Private property, not governed by HOA chickens welcome. Karens, not so much." And that's how one man, a few hens, and a whole lot of courage brought down an HOA tyrant. The lesson? Always know your rights. And never let someone with a clipboard tell you who you are, especially when your feet are planted on land that's yours and yours alone. New stories drop every single day. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a battle this REA.